I think we're especially equipped to talk about the show, you and I, Nina.
I hope so. I was rewatching it because I was like, I don't want to confuse the show for the game for the manga. There's so many different Ace Attorney things I've been consuming lately.
Isn't the manga all unique cases?
No.
Oh. Well.
I don't think so. So, yeah, it's really confusing. But yeah, I know a lot about Ace Attorney. But I will preface this, I have not played Ace Attorney 5 or 6 as of yet.
And neither have I.
Yeah, we've only played up till 4.
We've played the ones with Shu Takumi.
Yeah. I do want to play 4 and 5 really bad. I do want to play 5 and 6. I don't feel like I should be spending money when I'm not employed on video games.
We've both played the first Ace Attorney Investigations, but didn't finish it because it's not very good.
I finished it.
Oh, you did? I
did finish it.
Okay. I did not. I got to the last case and didn't finish it because it's like, well, I could be playing anything else.
I know. I mean, since my Apollo Justice is broken, I was like, maybe I can play Ace Investigations again? And I was like, but that wasn't fun.
Apparently the second one's very good, but they didn't localize it. Just like how they're not going to localize Dai Gyakuten Saiban, which is also supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, for those unfamiliar, Ace Attorney is a series of, I would say, hybrid visual novels.
Yes.
With adventure game elements in it. Originally released in Japan for the Game Boy Advance and then ported to the Nintendo DS worldwide in the early to mid 2000s. I was in high school, I think.
Yeah, I think it came out in Japan in 2001 or something.
And then the ports were maybe 2004 or 5.
Yeah.
It is a series in which you play Phoenix Wright, or Ryuichi Naruhodo in Japanese, a fledgling defense attorney in a fictitious version of Japan or America, depending on the localization.
A fictitious near future.
Near future.
At the time, it was the near future.
It was 2010.
No, it was 2016, actually.
It was 2016, that's right.
The first game takes place in 2016, so that's partly why the fandom's all excited again, because they're like, oh, on this day, Will Powers fucking got convicted. And it's like, oh, that's great, you guys. I'm so happy for you.
It uses a fictitious legal system, which is based on... Nina can go into the specifics because she knows it better than I do. But the court procedures don't match up to any extant structure of law, which allows them to have fun with it.
Shu Takumi's his main inspiration for designing the games was that he wanted to play a game that his mom could play. He wanted to make a game that his mom could play. So he's like, I want it to be simple and engaging. Eventually, it started off like a detective game, and then they kind of focused in on the finding contradictions thing, and then they're like, that's not what detectives do. Why? That's what a lawyer does. So they made it a lawyer game. But it's a bit of a critique of the then Japanese legal system in 2001, late 1990s. Because at that time, the legal system was very...
It was trial by judge, first of all.
It was trial by judge. There was no jury system. There was a statute of limitations about certain cases, which has since been revoked. The current Japanese legal system has gotten rid of that, which means that a case can be, solved no matter how many years afterwards. And also, the system very heavily favored the prosecution, more so than the defense.
Yeah, which is frankly how I believe a lot of court systems are skewed. Like, they skew in favor of prosecution just because, that's the state. And that's the people who are making the laws. But the status in Japan that this is critiquing was to an absolute extreme. To the point where the conviction rate was, I don't want to make up a number that's wrong.
I'm trying to find the statistic.
But it was out of control.
Yeah.
In favor of prosecution and conviction.
Yeah, the conviction rate in Japan is very high, or was very high.
And, there are even certain cases in the United States that are trial by judge, and those also see a much higher conviction rate.
Yeah.
Just statistically. And this game, I mean, if you've seen the play or the film 12 Angry Men, it's kind of based on the same kind of thing as like, you know, if there's even a shadow of a doubt, you can't convict. So it's the idea of finding any kind of possible doubt and exploring that idea by, you know, finding contradictions in testimony and evidence and everything. And the way that it ultimately goes is that the prosecution's case is like, this is a pretty simple ABC murder. Let's put this guy away. I've got tea time in literally 15 minutes. This is open and shut. And then what happens is you uncover the truth about the case, which is always completely fucking insane.
Always, yeah.
And usually an utter mockery of justice.
Yep. Yeah, like, if you're a lawyer, or you know anything about law, like, there's nothing about it that's...
Phoenix should have been held in contempt of court so many times over the course of, you know, just the series, but also this show.
Right.
We should say regarding this show that what is aired right now, which I believe is just the first run of it, I don't know about season division, but they've stopped airing
episodes. It's just one season.
Yeah, it's one season with 2 OPs. Which throws me for a loop, but that's just how anime works. That covers most of the events of the first 2 games. The first game was originally 4 trials, and then when they ported it to the DS for the international release, they added a 5th trial on the end, which doesn't affect the rest of the story, because it was written after everything went down.
It was just a bonus, and it allowed them to use DS mechanics, because it was really novel at the time.
Yeah. The most important thing about it is it introduces Emma Skye, who shows up again in Ace Attorney 4 as the best character.
Yeah.
But it's a completely self-contained case. That is not covered in the show.
Nope.
And then the first case of the second game, which is...
honestly, dumb.
Yeah, I mean, they have to tutorialize the first level in every game. The first case in every game. You know, the first game, it's his first case, so it works. Yeah. Second game, he gets bashed on the head by some jack-off, so he has amnesia and has to learn how to be a defense attorney while taking the stand. And, I mean, there's some fun characters who are introduced, but nothing interesting happens in the case, really.
No. So they skip that. And instead they add a wholly original story to the anime that was never in the original games, which I appreciated. Because if you're going to make an anime, let's do something different.
Yeah, it's effectively a filler arc, because it's not in the manga as it were, but it's like good filler, it's character development. And it's based off of stuff that was canon in the games.
Yeah.
It's just fleshing it out beyond 3 static CG images. As for an adaptation of its source material, it is, I think, ideal, you know, as someone who's very familiar with the source material.
Yeah,
and like,
I mean, it's not what everybody wanted, I think, in a way, because...
But it's what they, like, actually... But the thing is, if you ask people what they want, they don't know what they want.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a fan, I would have liked higher production values more than anything.
Oh, that? Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, I thought you meant in terms of adaptation. Oh, no, this show could have looked a lot better.
If the show could have looked a lot better, maybe if they let it breathe a little bit more, like, just the idea of seeing the characters, like, move, and the voices coming out of their faces, itself is a novel enough thing, and, like, seeing the places that they occupy and, like, what they look like in relationship to everything else, like, I haven't played Ace Attorney 5 or 6, but they do have animated cutscenes, and they look like how I would have liked the anime to look. Yeah. They're very shiny.
Well, Ace Attorney 4 had that one cutscene you have to watch 35 times.
No, these were but these were cutscenes animated by Studio Bones.
I don't know who those are.
They did Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay, yeah,
they did Space Dandy. And a bunch of other nice looking shows.
Yeah, but the thing is that Ace Attorney 5 was made back before the anime industry had no money.
Well, 6 had the same really pretty cutscenes too, but yeah.
Well, that's the game industry. The game industry still has money.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it's a lot more cost-effective to make a couple cutscenes than an entire anime show that looks good. But honestly, this is how terrible the show looks is kind of... I don't know what the excuse is. Like, I really don't. It's like Sailor Moon Crystal Season 1 bad. Like, the characters are never on model. And not in the fun, cartoony Steven Universe way, but, like, it's like
episode 2 of Pokemon The Origin way, where Cubone, like, they can't even get his head-to-body proportion right from shot to shot.
No, like, he's constantly shrinking. He gets smaller and smaller.
He drank some kind of weird potion. He was kissed by a witch.
Like, the characters should always stay within relative, like, proportions to each other. And,
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And they, they can never figure out how to draw the suits, because, I mean, the sprite, in the original sprites, like, Edgeworth and Phoenix looked fucking jacked under their suits. They were massive.
Think, Jonathan Joestar in that stupid sweater vest.
Like, their shoulders were so wide. And I don't know if maybe that's because I was just so used to anime characters having really big heads compared to their shoulders, but, like...
Yeah. And the other thing is that you see them in only, like, two angles, ever.
Right.
So, like, seeing them from different... Like, seeing Phoenix's hair in anything other than, like, a 3/4 or whatever that angle is really disarming. Because you only ever see that and occasionally head on.
I mean, it was designed that way.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they made his hair look like that. It was because they wanted to emphasize the motion.
Yeah.
Of him
in a game where nobody moves.
Yeah. Though in the art books, there are illustrations of his head from different angles. Like, they did think about it before they made the show.
Yeah, they do. But what I'm saying is that as a viewer, as someone who's been with this series for nearly a decade, it's
15
disarming.
years it's been.
Well, not for us in the U.S.
No.
Yeah, but I think from a writing perspective, we'll get into localization, because localization is a whole thing with this series, but, in terms of, just adapting the story to the medium of a television series, I think they did a very, very good job.
Yeah, like, they definitely streamlined the cases a lot. They kept the momentum.
Here's the thing about Ace Attorney. Everybody loves it, but everybody has, like, a lot of parts of it that they fucking despise.
Yeah. Most of those are the investigation.
The investigation segments are, really hit or miss. There's a lot of pixel hunting. There's a lot of really, like, poorly designed progression of objectives. Most notoriously, I would say, is
a pain in the dick.
Yeah, the Steel Samurai case is horribly designed. Like, it's a fun case, like, from a narrative perspective. Like all the characters are fun and everything. But, actually playing it's terrible. It's very, very bad.
Like the third, because it's a 3-trial case. And in the anime, they adapted it only to 2 trials, because they didn't need to be 3 trials. And the third investigation was a fetch quest. That's all it was. And it was horrible, and I hated it.
Yeah. Every game has a filler case. There's the Steel Samurai in the first one, and in the second game, which we also see in the show, it's the Circus, which is notorious for being the worst case in the series. Like, every character is unlikable. Everything is stupid. It's just a fucking slog. And the show made it pretty okay.
It
by
did.
Cutting out a massive amount of the dumb shit that you do in the investigation.
Yeah, like, they cut out a lot of the plot points about, like, how they all had a crush on the girl, and...
Yeah. And here's the thing. Now that you take that out and you remove it, didn't add anything. Completely unnecessary.
Not really. Though the climax where, like, Phoenix had in the anime, where Phoenix had the whole circus, like, do this mock, like, this is how the murder happened thing, and there's, like, props and, like, suspension cables hanging from the top of the courtroom and, like, all this crazy shit. It was kind of odd, but...
Yeah, near the end of the season, the episodes started looking better. They started doing more fun stuff. I mean, here's the thing about visual novels.
It's mostly just people talking to each other, so how are you gonna, like, make that visually interesting?
Yeah, here's the thing about visual novels, is that despite that, they are inherently visually uninteresting. It is nearly impossible to convey any kind of action in a visual novel without breaking into a proper cutscene. Simply, a visual novel, you got portraits on either side and a static background. So what it's very good at is delivering dialogue.
Yes.
But literally nothing else. Which I think is a really unfortunate limitation of the medium, because it's frankly the easiest kind of game to make. Like, you can make it on a low budget with a very small team if all you have is a story.
Yeah, the original Ace Attorney team was 7 people.
7 goddamn people.
And I think they made it in the course of less than a year.
Yeah, that's like some NES shit.
Yeah.
And frankly, I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised, because it kind of looks like it.
Shu Takumi was the writer. There was one, pixel artist, one background artist, a sound designer, a composer, programmer. One person did each of the jobs that you need to have to make the game a game.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And frankly, it shows, because there's not a whole lot of art assets. There's, there aren't any, cutscenes in that game. Music's pretty good.
Yeah, the music is great.
Music's fucking iconic. What am I talking about?
All the sound bites were just the people on the team.
Silent Hill style.
Shu Takumi did Phoenix's voice in the original Japanese games.
Yeah.
Because it's just the one sound bit.
It's 2. It's 3.
3.
Take that, hold it, objection.
Yep.
Yeah, so what was fun about this show when it was actually firing on all 6 cylinders, you said the climax of the Big Berry Circus trial, is that it was able to add a level of dynamism and and it was dynamic, it was kinetic, it had weight to it. Things were clearly happening. And also, there is a degree of spatial awareness that the games never had.
No, I never understood the layout of the courtroom.
Yeah.
Phoenix was on the judge's left side. But then Maya was on the right side of the screen.
You know what it is? Is that, you see the judge and the witness head on.
Yeah.
And when you switch to the witness, you're breaking the line of action every time.
Right.
Which, there are arguments about how that's not that bad, but it does mean that you don't know where the witness is in relation to everything else. For the longest time, I thought the witness was just underneath the judge. Yeah,
just having the courtroom be a building, and you could just see where everybody stands and where everything is, was nice. Even if the terrible, the audience was all that really gross CGI people.
Yeah, fucking, what is it, just little people? Is that what that toy line is?
Kinda, they're just, wiggling around,
They're those Playmobil. They look like Playmobil fuckers. Yeah. They look like Lucy, Daughter of the Devils.
They did not look good. I did not like them.
They made me want to puke.
And speaking of animism, one of the things that liberties that this show takes to kind of make being a lawyer a superpower is the fact that when characters, will make objections or
and excellent points and everything.
Anytime they do a good job being a lawyer, the presence of their voice and the force of their statement
and the gesture of them pointing
will physically cause their opponent to be reel back with wind and
is a
force.
Blast of air. They fucking shoot out Fusro Dawes.
They do. It's their chi energy is so strong or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of imitations of sprites and animations from the games, which are very cute, very familiar, the slamming on the table, the pointing gestures. Sometimes they get really clever with it, like that point where, one of Max Galactica's, signature animations was that he would, throw some cards in your face. And then, here's the thing is that the show is able to back the camera out and show that he's just throwing it at the glass in the witness interrogation room. It's so smart, because the games always had, I guess we didn't point this out, the games have always had a very lighthearted, goofy, silly tone.
Oh, the games are so wacky.
Yeah, they're very, very wacky. And the show's we're aware of that and let's integrate that into our adaptation of this.
Yeah, the show, I would say, definitely leans more heavily on the wacky side of things, and it tends to kind of skim over the more dramatic aspects of the story, because the story is pretty dramatic, if you think about it.
Oh, the stakes are always extremely... Oh, here's the other thing.
And there's just like a lot of shit
There's a
happens.
death penalty in this legal system, and every client that Phoenix Wright takes is on trial for murder. So literally lives are on the line every time. Although they kind of don't address that. It's not like, if I fail, this man dies. Just like, if I fail, he will be guilty, and I will lose. But like, no, he'll die. They will kill him. I think what you're saying about the show not balancing the dramatic and the comedic as much is because it does move at a much faster clip. And there's just more goofiness than there is drama, just like pound for pound in the games as well. It's just that the drama does take longer in the games because everything takes longer in the games.
Right. Well, the goofiness is obviously always there, but, like, when the drama hits, it, like, hits, and, like, it... Usually the goofiness will, like, subside for a bit so you can just, like, focus on, like, whatever dramatic shit's happening. Though they do a little bit... They do try. Like, one thing I did really like about the anime is that they added a bit more with the first trial when Phoenix is trying to defend Maya. Like, where he goes around and, like, talks to every lawyer in Los Angeles or Tokyo, or wherever they are, and nobody wants to take the case, and he's got his little notebook, and he's, like, crossing it out, and he, like, rides his bike in the rain with the sakura blossoms, and it's like, oh! He, like, turns around, and is like, all the cherry blossom petals are on his coat jacket, and Maya's like, oh! And, like, really cute little details that they got to do because they have a whole world to work with, like, when Phoenix and Edgeworth were commuting to that trial, there's the image of Edgeworth, driving his sports car. It's really fancy. He gets out. There's all this paparazzi and stuff. And meanwhile, Phoenix is riding his bike to court. Like a dingus.
Like a sweaty suit-wearing asshole. I really hope that, like, if they can up the budget at least by, like, 10%, I think they're gonna have the ability to do some really cool stuff with the third game, especially because the third game is fucking out of control.
Yeah, the third game is so out of control, I will cry.
You just did. You just replayed it.
I know. I'll cry again if I hear that it's gonna be animated, because so far we haven't had any... There's been no announcements. The initial announcement said it was just gonna adapt the first two games. So, we don't know if they're gonna actually continue with the anime or not. So I guess buy those DVDs when they come out. I'm really looking forward to the dub. So much.
Okay, that's a great segue. The segue is, I think the show is fucking undubbable. And let's get into why.
What do you mean why?
Okay, listen. The localization of this game, because it had no voice acting in its initial incarnation, was able to take massive liberties. Like, everyone's name changes completely. Like, nobody really has the same name, except some people have the same last name, like Karma. But because it was entirely a text-based medium, so they were able to capture the spirit without having to worry about lip sync. Here's a great example. In English, his name is Phoenix Wright. Everybody just calls him Wright. One syllable. In Japanese, it's Naruhodo. It's 4. I think we've talked about this briefly when we were talking about the Spanish dub of Steven Universe, and how, like, proper ADR and lip sync from English to Spanish is a lost cause, and they acknowledge that because the average Spanish sentence just has more syllables than the corresponding English sentence.
Well, they did dub the cutscenes in 5 and 6.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but, like...
And I feel like...
I feel like the ADR is going to be...
Part of the history of the localization of this franchise has been to just take liberties and add in references and whatever they really want with the space provided. I feel like they could just... They might end up having to change the dialogue pretty significantly, but I don't think that'll be a loss. If anything, it'll be more like the Ace Attorney that we're familiar with in the States.
And also make it fun to watch again.
Yeah. Phoenix was such a sass master in those games, and he wasn't quite as much of a sass master in the anime. I don't know if that's just because there wasn't time for him to be a sass master, or if it was just like a translation
I feel like
thing.
it was harder to put in, like, because, the investigations are, by necessity, very truncated. A lot of them are just montages.
Right.
And a lot of that sass came, one thing that we do miss out on is the interaction between him and Maya. Like, the latter thing never comes into play at all.
No.
Although that may have been entirely a localization decision. It's very hard to tell with this series.
It is very hard to tell.
But like Maya's weird, single-mindedness and how she would become really occupied by just the stupidest shit. and Phoenix being like, you're almost an adult. What do you do all day?
Phoenix being like, what has become of my life?
Like a lot of that stuff just can't come through. But it's gonna need a very adventurous localization team, and ideally they could get some of the same people. They're still working.
Yeah, they are. It's still the same team working on the localization who worked on the classic games, who are working on the new games.
Yeah, and let's not. I think Ace Attorney is one of the greatest localizations in the history of the medium.
Yeah, like I know everyone likes to point out the hiccups here and there, like with the hamburgers versus ramen, which was fine at first, but then in Ace Attorney 4, there was a ramen shop, and it was like, oh,
yeah,
and like these, like where the hell is the Korean village? Why is there like little Tokyo, little China, little Japan in LA?
But like in rural areas, in the fucking mountains.
Well, Janet, Sue, one of the people on the translation teams from all the games, she has a blog. And she said that in her headcanon, when she was trying to, like, figure out what they were doing, she was like, okay, if this is an alternate future, what if this is a world where there was never a Japanese occupation in LA, so the Japanese culture was allowed to flourish or something? And I was like, okay, fine.
That's interesting.
That's an interesting idea. But it's Japanifornia. It's Japanifornia.
They were on that San Francisco shit, 15 years earlier. Although it's like, here's the thing, in the localization it's supposed to be LA, but that's impossible because Phoenix doesn't own a car and can still get around. Yeah,
he takes buses and cabs everywhere, and it's like...
There's no buses.
There are, but they're not.
There's like 4. You literally cannot live in LA without your own transportation. It's undoable.
Yeah. But in Japan, it's pretty easy.
Absolutely. And there are places in the US where you could do, like, where you live in New York City. Having a car is just like, that's just a bunch of taxes you have to pay at the end of the year for no goddamn reason.
Having a car is a burden. Yeah.
It's an absolute burden in New York City. And a lot of other cities as well. I bet like in Baltimore it wouldn't be great, but like Los Angeles, you absolutely need one.
Right.
The city was built around the automobile, but poorly. Because you need a car to get around, but no matter what, it's gonna suck.
So it's just like the scale of it, like how Gumshoe is on every he's the detective for every case, and it's like, LA is so big, and there's so much crime.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that like, he is homicide.
Right.
But there's still a lot of those. After a certain point, it's like, oh, these both sides are like, this fucking guy again.
And the fact that Phoenix always gets stuck with, like, one prosecutor up his ass when, like, again, there must be, like, hundreds. It's a huge city with a lot of crime.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, both LA and Tokyo.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how crime-ridden Tokyo is, but it's a massive city, so it, just statistics, just demographics. Yeah, I think it would be very tough to localize and dub, but I'm very interested in seeing how they do it.
Yeah, me too. I'm so excited to see how they do it.
Now,
because it almost feels like the Japanese versions of the characters are almost different characters.
I kind of get that they're not completely different by any measure. That's crazy, but they're different
obviously,
enough.
But they feel different enough, yeah.
Yeah, like we watched it on Crunchyroll, and the subs that we used, and apparently there are multiple subs. I don't know about this, but
yeah, because I was watching it on Crunchyroll again today, and they had the Japanese names. But when we watched it originally, they had the English names.
No, they didn't.
They didn't?
No, it was Naruhodo and everything.
Oh, really? I don't know. Losing my mind.
Yeah, so like it was halfway to the localization of the games. For example, they localized say, Gumshoe's, speech patterns. In Japanese, he, like, slurs together the last 3 to 4 syllables of every sentence. It's just the way he talks.
In English, they decide to give him this affectation where he just says pal a lot.
Yeah. What are you doing here, pal? Whereas, like, the nandeska or whatever is just nandeska in Japanese.
Su. He ends everything in su.
Yeah. So, so we got the pal thing and other stuff of that nature, like, Eenie Meenie's, like, Valley Girl affectation. But we got all the original Japanese names, which I think it was interesting. I don't regret that. That's how I saw it.
It's like, okay, now I know the names of most of the characters in Japanese, not all of them.
It gave me an opportunity to look into, like, what the Japanese puns were. Like, Gumshoe, like, his name in America, he's Detective Dick Gumshoe. He's
Detective.
Mr. Senor, sir. Whereas in Japan, it's like, Ikono Togiri. It's just like this extremely long last name that nobody has ever had.
Okay. Is there more to it than that, or?
It's something about him, like, being the Saw. Like, I don't know if that's like Monzo the Saw.
Oh, like Monzo the Saw, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like the only thing I can connect it to, but I don't know. I don't know if that was a guy. That may have been a guy.
I don't know. What's
Samurai Champloo was a little bit of an historical fiction.
Right. Well, I think it was a character from a movie.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so something like that. Or, there's stuff where they captured the spirit, like Miles Edgeworth. Nobody's named Edgeworth either, but it's like, cause he's sharp.
Yeah.
In the same way he's named,
Mitsurugi,
the famous swords guy. The sword king.
The sword king.
The swordest guy that there was. Or alternately, the guy from Soul Calibur.
Yes. What's the pun in Yahari? In Larry's Japanese name?
I don't know offhand, and I don't want to Google on this podcast, because that's never great.
Nah. Also, who cares about Larry?
Yeah.
I love how in, the fourth trial of the first game, in the anime, the, Turnabout Goodbyes, when Edgeworth is declared guilty, and then it's like, oh no, and then all of a sudden, Larry's like, but wait! It's me! Your favorite character! And he, like, jumps from the stands, is, like, leaping into the middle of the courtroom, is like, I have something to say!
Just like a perfect double somersault in air.
It's, like, such an asshole.
Yeah, I tweeted while we were watching it, I said, Larry Butts is what would have happened if they were indelicate while writing Beautiful Joe. Because they're almost the same character, only one is likable and the other is not.
I mean, he's a butt monkey. That's his name. It's in his name. He's supposed to be that way.
I don't think anybody has used that term to describe the friend that nobody likes as butt monkey other than you, Nina. I love it. I adore it.
You've never? Never?
I don't think I have. Like, I adore it, and it's, like, surprisingly immediately communicative.
Yeah, they're the butt monkey.
But I think you made it up.
I don't think I did.
This I'm gonna Google.
I'm Googling it too. God damn it. Yeah.
Okay. According to Wiktionary, which is nuts, an annoying or irksome but okay, no. Alright, no, this is
It's on Wiktionary, wrong. It's on Urban Dictionary, it's on TV Tropes.
Okay, you're completely right.
I know. I heard it from somewhere. I didn't make it up. But yeah, he's Larry the Butt Monkey.
Okay. I'm sorry for doubting you.
And he sucks, and not even his friends like him.
Yeah, he's very bad. He's a bad character.
Even Phoenix is like, why are we friends? Why? And another thing, the anime definitely focuses a lot more on Phoenix's origin story, which has never been particularly strong in my opinion, but it does come from Shu Takumi's first-hand experience. He was in a class trial when he was a kid where he was accused of stealing money. And it was basically just all the kids saying, "You did it!" And apparently it was traumatic enough for him to remember it that he put it in the game.
That's actually also the origin of 12 Angry Men. Is the guy was convicted of a crime he insisted he didn't commit, and he blamed the jury for not listening to his case.
Only, but this was a class trial when he was a child, and it wasn't like he was convicted. He was just had to apologize.
Yeah, but there's a parallel.
Yeah. Also, apparently, Shuchikumi has said that he didn't take a very long time writing Phoenix's backstory. He kind of shat it out, and then he focused on his character more in writing the dialogue, which is where Phoenix's character more came out than his backstory. Which I totally get, because his backstory is fine, but
it's fine.
It's fine.
It's not what makes him interesting.
No, it's not what makes him interesting, and it's also just kind of like, really? Anyone who plays the game, it's like, that's why you became a lawyer?
Dude, that must have happened like 20 years ago. You must have went through a lot since that happened.
Yeah, and his thing with Edgeworth, too, where it's like, you saved me, and it's like, that was in 4th grade, and we were only friends for like a year before he moved away, like... Before
your dad died, and you got kidnapped?
God, he was
by
adopted.
The devil?
He didn't know he was the devil at the time, but he is the devil. I was kind of mad that the anime didn't have his, like, smacking his head against the wall part during his breakdown.
His breakdown. The breakdowns are so good. And I feel like they didn't... The thing that make the breakdowns so, have so much weight in the game is that was, like, the most movement you were seeing ever.
Right.
And the anime couldn't recapture that.
Well, the anime kind of subdued a lot of them, like, what's his face? Frank saw it from the first case. Yeah. And he did a really iconic thing where he threw his toupee in Phoenix's face in the game, but they didn't put that in the anime, and it's like, why?
Didn't he start frothing at the mouth?
He did.
Yeah.
But why did they have him throw the toupee in his face?
Well, one of my favorite things is that the characters will have, like, not their total breakdown, but, like, a partial breakdown, and then they'll be like, actually, I have an explanation.
Yeah.
As they're wiping the foam from their mouth and desperately trying to, like, push back together the shirt that they've just ripped open in fury.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of that in the anime, because again, they streamlined things. They also streamlined the court cases as well, and they kind of, like, got to the point. They didn't have as many, like, revised testimonies as they did in the game.
And also in the game, like, in the game, like, at least when I played it, I would always press every dialogue just to see the dialogue.
Right.
I'm playing a visual novel. I want to get all the novel in here.
Right.
And here's the thing. I'm not sure I would do that again, because if I were to replay the games, because it really does just murder the pacing.
It does. I mean, sometimes I would just object when I knew what the contradiction was, and I'm like, I knew it, I got you. But
yeah, I think if I were to replay it, I wouldn't press everything just to see the stuff, because it's like, that like doubles the length of the game.
But in the anime, like, the trials, I think because the trials went by so quickly and there wasn't as much, like, constantly revised testimony, it did feel more like an actual court, but it didn't feel as much like an Ace Attorney experience because you're just so used to, like, constantly being thrown lies at. Having lies thrown at you. Whereas in the anime, they got to the point. Like, the characters weren't constantly revising their testimony. They basically had one testimony, and then Phoenix was just cross-examining it for the rest of the scene.
Phoenix would cross-examine them for 100 seconds, and then accuse them of murder. Like, I forget which case it was, but, like, he flipped it so quickly that, like, I mean, even in this moment, Maya was like, Jesus Christ, Nick. Not yet. What? You're gonna be held in contempt of court, which I'm pretty sure is also punishable by death.
That's what Karma said in the anime when he was yelling at Larry.
The cast was pretty, the Japanese cast was pretty good. I don't feel like anybody was miscast.
No, I don't think so. Edgeworth's voice was a little bit more deep than I thought it would be, but whatever.
I mean, he certainly needs to be deeper than Phoenix.
Definitely, yeah.
And I felt like, I mean, just from playing the game, Von Karma, Manfred Von Karma, or Karuma Go in Japanese, like, the way he says objection sounds like he is pulling himself up from a boiling pit of tar.
Yeah.
He sounds like the devil that the devil is afraid of.
He does. He sounds terrible. He's pulling himself out of, like, the primordial ooze.
It's the first word ever said on Earth. This is horrible. I'm not even gonna imitate it because I'll fuck up my mic. But yeah, and here he was just, like, he was like a scary, intimidating asshole dude, but he wasn't a tar beast, is my problem.
I wanted him to be a tar beast. I wanted him to look like death. With his one eye that doesn't open up all the way.
That motherfucker walked around with a bullet, with an untreated bullet in his shoulder for 30 fucking years.
No, it was 15.
It was 15, but still.
God. And I like in the anime because in the game, you found out that he had the bullet because you used a metal detector. So in the anime, they had to have the metal detector on hand. So Maya just has it strapped to her back like she's in fucking Naruto, and that's her ninja weapon.
Like she's a Guilty Gear.
Like, she's just standing there for, like, the whole, like, 3 episodes with this thing on her back.
Like she's trying to join the fucking jellyfish pirates.
Yeah, and it's like, why? And then it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I knew the twist, but that was, like, such a telegraph, and then Phoenix was like, hey, Maya, you know that thing you've just had on your back for no reason?
And she's like, what? Oh! Like, it's not even like you would think she would, like, just, like, draw it, like she was waiting for this moment. She's like, it's just an accessory. All the kids are doing this.
It was just silly. Like, they didn't even have it, like, leaned up against the desk. It was just on her back, ready to go.
It was so good.
But yeah, the added little arc, it's called Turnabout Promise, and it's when Phoenix and Edgeworth and Larry are all little kids in school, because this anime is just obsessed with that backstory for some reason. Like, we get it hinted out way in, like, the first episode. In Turnabout Goodbyes, Phoenix has, like, a nightmare about it, and it's like, dude, that's not the kind of nightmare, that's not worthy of having a nightmare you wake up in a cold sweat. Like, Edgeworth is in prison dreaming about how he thinks he murdered his dad, and you're just like, they thought I stole the money and lunch money. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the game, I mean, you've played the first game more than I have. Didn't the game also, like, hint at that quite a bit?
No, only in the last try. The only thing was that Phoenix would say, you know, I owe Larry and I owe Edgeworth, or we used to be friends.
Alright.
It wasn't until that Turnabout Goodbyes when we found out about it. But anyway, in Turnabout Promise, we see it again. But then also we just get a lot of cute fluff of them being friends, and
we get the immediate aftermath, which is very interesting, because that we've never seen.
No.
It's them trying to take care of a dog, and being fans of a very stupid tokusatsu.
based on the traffic signals?
Yeah.
Oh, but it was so cute. 'Cause, like...
And then we also get to see baby, Francisca, who is, I think she had to have been like 4. And she's like, I'll teach you everything I know! Shut up!
Yeah, because...
You're an infant. Where's your mom? Did he eat her already?
Francisca's the same age as Maya.
Oh, yeah.
So...
She would have had to have been, like, literally, like, at the oldest, 4 fucking years old. And she's in the same suit, just smaller.
Yeah, she's so cute.
She's very cute.
I love her.
And how she's got the riding crop, because she's not ready for the whip yet.
Yeah, well, she had the riding crop in Ace Investigations 1. In the flashback trial.
Yeah.
I love Francisca. She's
a very fun character.
She's so much fun. The whipping was fun to see in live action, in like actual movement.
Yeah.
Her boob size kept changing though.
Yeah, and all of them were too big. Like, I mean, Mia's boobs kept changing, but they were always very big.
Right.
Francisca did not have a large bust in her in-game sprites. She did.
No, not really. She had normal boobs.
Yeah, she had huge boobs in this show.
She did. I do like when she came, after getting shot, when she had Gumshoe's jacket.
That is a sick look for her. Also, it's like, don't worry, Scruffy's injuries were very minor. And then we see him and he's head to toe, he's a fucking mummy.
Oh, a very poorly drawn mummy.
Shithead mummy.
It was like the last scene of the whole series, and it was like, had no budget.
It's like the last shot they drew, the last, frame they drew was that picture of Gumshoe standing there as a mummy. It's like, they called it a wrap and they're like, oh fuck, we forgot to draw this mummy. So they went back and drew him like, as after the lights had already been turned out. That's what it looked like. I mean, I think the show really is very good. It's frankly a much more digestible alternative than replaying the games. Cause like, no matter what, they're long. And a lot of it, like, is inefficient and bad. Like,
yeah.
You do miss out on a lot of the nuance and a lot of the stuff that people really like about, like you don't get any of the ladder shit, this running gag about Maya just being obsessed with ladders.
I say if you watch the anime and you enjoy it, I think you should try and play the games. I really do, because
here's the thing, it'll be very easy.
It's worth it, because there are a lot of little things here and there that we don't get to see.
There are entire characters that were cut out.
One thing I thought was really weird was they didn't even, like, for Turnabout Goodbyes, they just said that it was a blackout. They didn't mention that it was an earthquake at all. They just, like, completely wrote that off for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know. Japan's really sensitive about earthquakes. Like, there's a banned Pokemon episode just because it was timed poorly with one of their very bad earthquakes that they have a lot because of just where their country is.
Yeah, but
and especially
it's not played for laughs. It's a tragedy. It's like,
I know, but it's like, listen, the country was almost destroyed with the Fukushima meltdown.
Yeah,
that was a byproduct of an earthquake, and like, I don't know. Like, I don't know a lot, but I know that there was that Whiscash episode of Pokemon that was banned because of the earthquakes, and now the and actually since then, this is true. Since that episode, the move Earthquake has not shown up in the anime.
Oh.
And that was during Ruby Sapphire.
And now that you mention it, the Ace Attorney movie also changed the DL6 case and completely got rid of the earthquake and the elevator. I feel
like earthquakes are a sensitive thing because they can be so devastating there.
Yeah. Because
they're on that massive fault line, so like they're all very bad. And they get this, and then they also get the tsunamis. And then, a couple of years ago, the country almost exploded.
Yeah, I guess so. So they had to write that part out.
Which it's not that hard, honestly.
No.
Like, there's many reasons why blackouts can happen.
True.
Do you think that's specifically why it was LA? Because it's the other earthquake city?
Yes, I think so. Because they needed an excuse to have random earthquakes happen and it'd be like a normal thing.
Yeah.
Because that was a plot point in the game.
Yeah, a place where an earthquake can happen and nobody freaks out unless it's like very bad. Like, people get on with, they stop, they like take care of themselves, but they get on with their day.
Right.
But here's the thing, but on the inverse, it's a city that doesn't know how to handle any amount of rain.
Yeah, and it's like, the fact that it takes place in LA makes no sense because there's trials where it's snowing.
Yeah, like, you can drive to where it snows from LA, and that's not too far of it. Like, you can make a day trip to a place where it could snow. But not in it, ever.
Yeah, like, Maya's like, let's go see the circus, they're in town, and there's snow on the ground. It's like, what?
How?
It's
2016 with climate change. It's even worse in this universe.
I mean, we live in like a post-apocalyptic court system. You might as well have terrible weather.
Yeah, but see, the thing about the games, and part
the
of the reason
court system's only 3 days.
Yeah, it's 3 days, and then if you can't acquit, then it's just automatic guilty.
Right. Though the one thing the anime did get rid of was the statute of limitations thing, because that was that had to do with the DL6 case, and apparently that's because by 2016, in actual Japanese law, they got rid of that law, so it wasn't relevant anymore.
I see.
Or something.
Yeah, I'm less equipped than you are to compare the show to the games because it's been much longer since I've replayed them, and the only one I've actually replayed any of is the first one. Like the other, I've only played once. And here's the thing: is that because of the show, I'm not gonna play them again. Like, I might replay Rise from the Ashes out of curiosity.
I mean, I would suggest replaying Trials and Trib again.
It depends on how long it's going to take to get the show. I mean, Trials and Trib is so good.
Trials and Trib is so good. And the neat thing is, like, if you want to play these games, you can play them on your phone now.
Yeah, they remastered the original trilogy for iOS and Android, as well as 3DS. And a remaster of Apollo Justice, the fourth game, is coming. It's supposed to come this year. But, it's almost November, so who knows?
Yeah.
That's just going to be for mobile platforms.
But, I mean, I would love more of the anime. I want to see more. I want to see everything that happens in that third game, like, play out in an anime. I want to see Maya. I want to see Mia being an attorney. I want to see Edgeworth in his terrible suit. I want to see Godot throwing coffee at Phoenix. Like,
I played through that whole game legitimately thinking it was a Godot.
Yeah. I know it's Godot,
because I had never even heard of Waiting for Godot.
I had heard of Waiting for Godot, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know French.
You didn't know it was French?
No.
Back when I was in high school, I didn't assume anything was French.
No way.
Nina tweeted this earlier. If you follow her on Twitter, it's at Nicky and Ichi.
My Twitter's been stupid lately.
There is a scene in the final case of the last game where Gumshoe is by himself investigating and singing to himself, "No motive, no crime." And it was like he wrote this whole parody of "No Woman, No Cry" about prosecution. And it's probably my single favorite piece of localization in anything ever. Yes.
Every case gotta be airtight. Every case gotta be airtight.
Because it's a great parody of a song that everybody on Earth likes. But not just that, but just the moment is, it's Gumshoe in this very private, vulnerable moment that you get to see and, like, embarrass him with. Because not only is he singing a song to himself, he's singing a song he made up, and he's singing a song parody he made up. And to be caught in that is the smallest you can feel. It's such this is my favorite moment of the whole series. I really want to see more of the show. I want to see it do a little bit, look better.
I want to see it look better, please. Figure out how to draw Phoenix's fucking suit. Good God.
Yeah. We highly recommend these games. The other thing, and part of why Nina likes them so much, is that they're very, very passive games, and that, you don't need reflexes to play them. You just need a brain. And if you don't have that, you can just look up a walkthrough. Yeah.
If your mom can play it, you can play it.
Yeah. As long as you can read.
All you need to do is be able to read and poke things.
Yeah. You don't even need to solve the puzzles. Just go to GameFAQs if you get stuck. It's just the solutions.
Right. But it's fun to figure it out for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But sometimes the solution is impossible.
Yes, if some cases are just so poorly designed that you can't figure out the solution because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. We really recommend the game. We really recommend the show. Like we said, it's on Crunchyroll. I don't know about any other release.
Yeah. I don't know
probably nowhere
else. I really want the dub. Please. I don't know who's picked it up in the for the United States. I don't know if it's Funimation or Viz or who. But please dub it, please. It would make me very happy. Also, it's very gay and I like it.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Everything, all the subtext that the game had, they're just like, let's do more. Let's just do more. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, like Phoenix and Edgeworth are gay, and I won't hear anything to the contrary.
Well, Phoenix is bi, but they are gay for each other.
Okay, yeah. Edgeworth might also be bi. We don't know.
I don't know.
But they're in love with each other.
They love each other very much. And it's beautiful. And it's been fueling me in these jobless weeks.
So total recommendation. Now here's the thing. I haven't been watching many cartoons while on hiatus.